going on?
Haven't heard that in a minute. Let's go. Oh yeah. Oh shit.
What's up? First stream now that I've moved and officially out of California. I'm glad to be joined by a good friend of the channel and just friend in general, Star Wars Dog and Dave. Appreciate you guys joining me to talk some AI. It's funny. This is like I wasn't even planning on starting up the channel again until I had a background and all this other stuff like ready. But on two accounts, like with me and you, Jim, we started talking about AI, and I guess you were talking to Dave and Rob, who's going to be here shortly, about AI.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I was about to go to bed at like what 10:30 last night, and we stayed up past midnight talking about it. I was like,
he was all tired, and all of a sudden we start talking. He like wakes right up, and
scratching my intellectual itch. Like, here we go.
So just let's just go straight into it. I'd like to know both of your opinions. You can just go one by one, and just like generally, what do you think? Okay, I guess the way I want to phrase it is AI a positive, a more fearful thing, somewhere in between? Where are you guys on your opinions of AI in general right now?
Oh. Go for
I think
it, Jim.
it's a good way. It's a good way. There are good, and for me, there are good aspects of it, but then there are serious things that we're going to get into that I think you should kind of be cautious of what we're playing with right now. Now, the tools wise, very like what we have right now in the system and the way it works is it's basically collecting a bunch of data, and it's helping us kind of with things like obviously everyone knows image creators, Word documents, and stuff like that, but there are some other more serious topics that I think are going to get
a lot of ramifications that will come.
Yeah,
like it's hard to form a full opinion now because one, we're doing a stream about this, right? But I've hardly scratched the surface with AI. I barely understand what it's capable of, let alone what it will be capable of. And I think even the so-called experts that do actually work in it with training it and programming it, they also have no idea what a year. I mean, there's advancements every month that are like groundbreaking shit, and it's hard to gauge exactly how I feel about it. I will say overall, I think it'll be extremely useful and also inevitable. So, like, what's the point of really? I mean, resistance is fine, I guess, right? But this is the direction we're going, and you could choose to be Amish, I suppose, or you can try to figure out how to move forward with it.
Yeah,
and I think that I'm excited about AI, and I was trying to think of the best way to describe the way I feel about it, and so I look at it when I think of AI. I look at it in a couple of ways. Is it going to change the world? Absolutely. Is it going to? Is it going to eliminate jobs? Absolutely. Is it going to create jobs? Absolutely. So, I a lot of that it will. A lot of whenever we get a massive change in something that eliminates work or jobs or needs or is done automated, it also opens us up to be able to do other things. So where I think this, if you want to talk about what scares me about AI, it's not how it'll affect the economy, because I think we're smart enough and we've adapted over all of our history to whatever changes we get. So I think we will adapt. We'll figure it out. The scariest thing that I've heard about AI isn't the fact that we have something that's intelligent, because we have people who are intelligent, some who aren't so intelligent, and some people who aren't so intelligent in very scary, powerful positions. So AI can be kind of one of them. What to me was the most interesting thing when you think about AI being in control of something is it's based on the data that it has input. And if somebody has control over what data is input, that they can prevent things from going awry, or things can go get out of control. So when we're talking about AI, the technology itself, I don't think is scary. It's just the exact same problems we have with a living human being, which is how are we raising them? How are they being brainwashed, programmed? What do they believe? And some of those, as we've seen in some unfortunate events that humans have done, have ended up in some disastrous situations. And that's the scary part of AI. The beauty of AI is it's not a human, so we can brainwash it and not feel guilty and keep it from getting there. But that's, to me, that's the scary part of AI, not the stuff that's going to eliminate jobs and all that stuff, because I think we'll adapt.
So, okay, kind of to both of your points, there, like what you're saying with the data that we feed it or plug into it, or program it to that system. What I've, based off of the few podcasts I've listened to it, and in my layman's sense of understanding, it's that we know how to feed it the information, but it gets to a point to where like they can't foresee like what the outcome's going to be by feeding it all of this information. So like one problem I've seen, like that I'm seeing as like really kind of fearful issue, is that like just simple brainwashing for the masses of the population of humans, right? So you start feeding it a whole bunch of information, and we actually already know that, like we've probably seen it already through social media and whatnot, right? So stories start getting pushed, and I would say that that's probably one of the first implements of us being kind of quote unquote under attack by AI. So the last, not the last one, but Rogan just had on these two guys who I forget the company they worked for. Jim, I sent you that podcast. I don't know.
Yeah, I watched them today.
They were talking about that though. That like they feed, we have the ability to feed it information and kind of train it a certain way, but it gets to a point where they don't even understand like how it got to a certain point that it did.
Yeah.
And one issue that kind of connects to this is, so it was telling, I think the people working on it and trying to understand more about it said, just type company over and over and over again endlessly, and after like 20 minutes of it just typing the word company into the screen or whatever, it started producing like not thoughts but sentences like I'm suffering, like this is horrible, like that.
Yeah, that was creepy.
And one thing that kind of blew my mind is that they said like most people that are working on this, they confidently can say like 99% of the time it works like great as just a system for us to utilize and use. Right. And then 1% of the time it acts like a sentient like being or mind, right? So that's where I'm like, yeah, but what if it like, it's programmed to learn. So what if that 1% just keeps growing exponentially throughout the next decade?
Will.
Where is that?
Will.
Yeah. Thoughts on that?
On that specifically, I don't understand what exactly that is. Is it obtaining consciousness? Also, how do you define consciousness? Would it tell us if it's conscious? And what I guess what I would say that I would be fearful of is that when it comes to the conclusion that that we are extremely flawed beings, what does it decide to do about that? Because if it becomes autonomous and it is no longer receiving input from us and it is making better and better versions of itself, which I foresee it doing, like that I think is just the logical steps of where this is going. Eventually it will turn loose and want to just make better versions of itself.
Well, and that's kind of where I was going with it, is where is the line drawn? And also, like, so from what I've seen, the only safety net we have right now is the off button, the off switch, the plug. Like you pull the plug, it shuts down. How do we know that? Like, I don't know. I'm going to jump into science fiction here for a second, but like, how do you know it's not going to Skynet? Right? It's just like right. I've grown up watching too many of these science fiction movies to just be okay with all this stuff happening, right? And like another, it's like me. So a scenario me and Jim were talking about that I think is really valid. It's like, okay, so it obviously is going to become 10 times smarter than us, and I had brought up the scenario like, so your wife's pregnant or your father's hurt somewhere far away, and you need to just like hit the gas and drive as fast and as dangerous as you can, trying to be safe at the same time and get to where you need to be to save or help someone. And how do we know that when AI and autonomous driving is the norm on the streets of freeways, that it won't let you take command like that and be like, you're too irrational right now. It might be able to sense your emotion by your breathing and your sweat and all that other stuff. And so it'll just automatically say like, nope, we're going to be going this, you need to drive safe like that.
What about to counter that? It senses that there is an emergency within the vehicle and it communicates to the other vehicles, making fast transport possible and extremely safe. So it could actually send you 100 miles an hour and also put you into turns that you can, that your vehicle can handle, and have other cars already get out of your way and send you. That's where I think it can go. It'll pretty much take the ability of our recklessness away.
Yeah.
And that's where I think when you think about application and design for that application, when I hear like guys like Elon Musk or whoever come out and say, "Hey, we need to slow down and think about this," what I hear, what I read into it in my own interpretation is, it's not that that it's inherently dangerous or scary. It's, are we slowing down to think about the applications, just like you said? Because one of the things about AI, as you alluded to, being 10 times smarter or whatever, infinitely, and sort of going back to your original question about the behavior and why does it act sort of sentient sometimes.
Sure.
And I don't know the answer to that, but my opinion, my theory is, when you think about what AI and a computer can do, and we haven't even talked about merging AI with a crazy powerful computer like a quantum computer,
Or ourselves.
or ourselves.
Which we'll get to that.
The difference is, you think about somebody who's a subject matter expert. Let's talk about cars, and traffic and everything, and their entire life. Let's say they've been working in this and studying it for 30 years, traffic patterns, safety, vehicles, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Well, what can that human being recall at any given point over all 30 years of every data point that they've had? Let's say it's 100 million data points that they have.
Right.
Well, the AI can not only recall all 100 million of that guy's, but also every 100, trillions of data points instantly there, analyze them all together. So when you say, why, when you type the word, 20 times over, does it start doing these weird things? It's like, because it has that, and you get unexpected results. It's because it's able to see things in a holistic way that we just can't even comprehend, let alone do.
Right.
And
Well,
it has to make up an outcome, and that's a bit scary. So when I think about design, you have to sort of design it in a way so that there are limits. You have to build those hard limitations in. Otherwise, you're sort of setting yourself up to be in those situations.
But is that futile as well? Like, will it not get to it? Could it not potentially get to a point to where it would circumvent those?
So okay, I was gonna say something about that. I like what I'm seeing right here. Like, I think mutually we all kind of agree. Like, to get to that point, like we're at A and we need to get to B. So what happens in between there? And like, what if like I'm kind of thinking like and that's kind of what I was talking about before. Is like we can't even see, like, the people working on it like can't even see the outcome of what it's going to look like right now. So to get that technology to that point, how, like, what are the deferring options to try to mitigate how difficult or how the mistakes that can be made on our hands, and give this thing way too much computing ability, like you were talking about, Dave, And so I, that's kind of where the base of my fears come from in terms of AI. It's like I feel like it's like, yeah, that sounds really great to us, but at the same time, like, okay, well, how does it get there, and how do we know? Like, for instance, that
Or
like
yeah.
10 years ago, they put those two AI together, and they created their own language, and they had to shut it down because they couldn't understand what these two things were communicating to
Right.
each
Like
other. Like
conspiring. Yeah.
yeah, like what?
Yeah.
And sorry, I've had this up for a minute. What about the
Yeah. Yeah.
story of AI knowing it had to lie to trick the assistants, the captcha assistants into helping it beat the captcha? The AI told them it was a blind person, and that's such a crazy one to me because it knows that we are empathetic and emotional beings. Yes, men tend to be more logical, like genetically, but it's clearly it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. You're getting tricked by that, right? Because you go,
Yeah.
and especially it probably did that. Like when I first heard that, I was like, okay, it's probably thinking like it's seeing all this stuff online. Um, they there's clearly whether you agree with it or not. There's clearly a place in like social media for you know people being disrespectful, right? You get called a bigot a lot. And so it probably saw a whole bunch of information about that, like, oh, people don't like when they're called this or called that. So if
But
you use
also, what is morality if you have a goal to achieve something?
well, okay, but that's my point. This thing's not viewing stuff in moral sense, a
No.
moral lens or an emotional lens. So it's
And
viewing
why
it
would it?
and so that point A to point B, it's seeing it as like, oh, so I need to do this. It's clearly asking me this question, or we are clearly asking it this question to test it. It probably acknowledged that and said, okay, well, I'm going to sift through all this stuff. What's the easiest route from point A to point B? I'm going to go with this immoral thing of lying that I'm a disabled person. Like it's insane to me. I think it's really creepy too.
I think uh, I think a big issue with trying to put guardrails up is we're talking about growth that, like I said, every month something breaking is happening, right? Something like mind blowingly awesome, like achievement is happening through AI. And I think it would be like um trying to put safety lines up for social media in the 80s when we had no idea social media was coming. So we could try to put all the guardrails up that we want to right now, but we can't even truly conceive what's going to be possible le- months from now, let alone a year or two, five. You know,
Mhm.
it's
Well, and look, everything is digital. So these guidelines that we're speaking of, how do we know that that this AI can get smart enough to just bypass all this stuff at one point, right? Which then you're dealing with the whole Skynet theory, essentially.
Well, and that's why I say, like, I like the comment the Great Pilgrim put in there. AI can't learn real emotion; it has to be programmed. That's the scary part. And the other
programmed
piece
by who?
is it teaching itself based on that data to and if it's a limited data set and that's its only perspective, it could spiral out of control. It could become fanatical.
Yeah.
And so, when I'm thinking about this, and I've worked in software development, and for years, and kind of had an understanding of some the way that programmers think and the way you develop something. And so my initial thought is, when you say we need to stop and slow down, it's like saying, hey, maybe we just need to put simple physical limitations in there. Like, if you're going to build an AI that's able to think on its own and do whatever, yeah, you can control it with the data, but you can also limit its access to processing power and hard drive space, and sort of dumb it down and slow it down. And my hope would be that AI developers, and I think money would drive this, in most cases, like we're seeing AI now. You're creating a very specific AI. It's not a I don't like the idea of an all-wise AI that can take in any subject matter and become an expert at it, or whatever. I like the idea of saying this AI's sole purpose is
Mhm.
to prevent traffic accidents.
Mm.
It can't consider politics. It can't consider,
Specialize the AI.
yeah, specialized it, because that's where I'm like, if you're going to slow down and kind of say, hold on, we need to come up with some regulations, we need to come up with some guidelines, some safety ways. That would be an obvious one to me. Besides, saying, hey, you should have limitations on data, on processing power, on other things that might help. Help it. Just give it what it needs to do the task that it needs to do. Like,
Yeah.
Right. I understand.
Things like that. But maybe that's a type of regulation that needs to be put in place. You know what I mean?
Right. So okay. So say we have.
Not that I'm pro tons of regulation. But I'm just saying, maybe
No,
certain cases, yeah.
I'm following what you're saying, but
Yeah.
let's do a little hypothetical here, right? So you have an AI for regulations. You have an AI for I don't know, high scale economics worldwide stuff like that. You have an
Engineering.
AI, yeah, you have an AI for science. You have an
Medical.
AI for all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So how do you are you think would we basically be the mediator in that sense, and we just plug in what we need from the AI and take it, or is there like a larger scale AI that encompasses all of this stuff to help kind of connect the bridges between these different fields and whatnot, right? Because I don't know, that's kind of where this whole out of hand thing, and again, this is like my small little brains, it's hard to wrap my head around how this is going to turn out. But when we start thinking in that sense, I don't know, I'm seeing a bunch of different AI programs, right, that aren't actually working together at their fullest capacity when it's like that.
Right, because from what I understand too is when you ask it a question, just simply on recalling history, and then you ask it a question, you know, um, what's the importance of America achieving this before China? Well, now it also has to study the political differences and what the repercussions are and input all this data, but also instantaneously. So if it's only narrowed to a certain field, you know, say it's a medical question too. I don't know. I don't know if you can just specialize that, because it kind of has to be privy to all information.
Well,
And if it's privy to all information, couldn't it answer other questions as well?
Well, and also, I already don't trust the government. I think governments are important to a certain extent, but there's also I'm also very hands off when it comes to government.
There's so much corruption.
So,
So much corruption.
and who do you think is funding all of this research, whether it's privately or publicly, right? It's the fucking governments of the world, the ones that have the most money, right? Or at least
Elon's
highly
pouring
connect.
into it.
It's private companies that are seriously connected and involved and invested in government. So, that's already these guardrails that we're talking about is already in my opinion, a scary thought. Where does
But also,
where does it go to?
let me ask you this about pumping the brakes, or slowing down to set up regulation. Are we not in a race for this stuff?
That's the challenge, right? Not just a race when it comes to superpower, political power, whatever, but that is a
Right.
massive influence, obviously, because I think some of the big implications are pretty obvious, but financially too. Everybody's like, yeah, sure, we need to slow down. I was secretly over here, figuring this out, because I'm going to give you an example. Like things that make me excited about AI, medical. So we have all
Yes.
kinds of diseases. We have all kinds of, and the amount of data when you look at like an autoimmune disease, and is it caused by food? Is it caused by, whatever? And you can plug all that data into a supercomputer with AI, and it can analyze it. There's potentials that we could get to a point in the future with AI that it creates and I'm going to say prescription, a drug, even though maybe it's not a drug, maybe it's a recipe, maybe it's a meal that you eat, but unique to an individual's DNA.
Yes.
That will make you live longer, healthier, and fix you personally, instead of this sort of blanket approach that we do for everyone else. And that sort of stuff is exciting. Not only that, but it could maybe come up with, different ways to approach, surgery or growing organs, or I mean, just the amount that of amazing things that would be beneficial to us is there. But
yeah,
it could create
all of that stuff can be manipulated. I saw the comment up here before, but it was like, there's ego-driven people, there's people driven by money, there's people driven by power. What I don't want us to ever do is treat AI like some sort of god, to where we say, well, let's ask the AI. It has all the answers, because the AI may be able to figure things out faster than us, and it may be able to look at things in the way that we can't.
right.
But it's all based on what we put into it, and it can be manipulated. So.
Also, if medically it can solve all these issues and be able to tell what a person needs, physically, supplementary, all that kind of stuff. There's whole industries that will be extremely affected by that, and if they throw enough money at enough people to manipulate it and suppress it, I mean, just look what sugar did to saturated fats back in the 50s, right? Like, you could pay a couple of people off, and it's still miscited information to this day.
Dave,
and
sorry, go on.
I think the prospect, when I first started learning about AI medically, I went to that. I was like, oh my God, like, you know how people WebMD like symptoms and shit. You could actually, the potential for AI to seriously diagnose you to the best ability of all different medical professions and researchers that have studied all these kinds of symptoms. And maybe it's a simple blood test, maybe it's a simple DNA scan or something. Well, that might not be simple, but this could also be implemented to agriculture and how we grow and do our food, so that also ensures that we get the healthiest lifestyles that we possibly can.
And somebody can manipulate that to say, well, you have to eat this product. That'll solve your problems.
This is kind of what I was talking about before, right? With all the different fields. So yes, like, we as humans have our own respective trades and whatnot that we become experts in quotations. But there comes a point where everything starts blending together, right? So, science, medical and science are going to blend together. Agriculture and science are going to blend together. So how do we know there isn't going to come down to the point where you've got all these different AI systems having to communicate with each other? And if we don't have the correct guidelines set up, how do we know that they're not going to fuck us over, right?
Right.
Whether intentionally or unintentionally. That's where I'm saying, like, how do we really like grasp the full potential without fully understanding how these things operate and how to mitigate the potential harms that will come with that. Now, before we get into that, I Dave, what you were talking about before, like viewing it as a god, it reminded me of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy when they go, "What's the answer to the whole world?" Or the I forget what they asked, but like the computer goes 42.
That's right.
And like that person, like, and they all, like, the whole crowd just like goes dead silent. I thought that just reminded me of that. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, it's it's kind of a and any solution I think of, you think about when you talk about regulation or how do we kind of prevent it from being used in a negative way. I'm like, we don't even before AI was invented, it's already a struggle to get people to understand truth. So part of me is like, well, can I have my own little personal AI that will validate and go out and check the other AI to tell me how it's been manipulated? Say, well, yeah, you can't trust that AI because it's lying to you, And then can I trust my own? Like, we'll get to this point where hopefully it sort of balances out, and we have tools that, like I said, like AI checking AI, like policing itself, and
images and videos that can be completely manufactured
Yeah.
perhaps another
How do I
AI
know that that's a
system
real
can-
video? You know what I mean? And
Right, right.
But we are okay, and part of my, like, I try not to be a fear monger when it comes to this because I think
I'm excited about it. I'm not fearful of it, but
I'm
there are things to
excited,
fear.
but like people are already being duped, right? You already have
Yeah.
these fake ass videos. I've gotten duped by shorts because the AI voice recognition thing, right? And
So good.
so I've gotten duped on a short where I'm listening to this crazy conspiracy like mythical story about like another dimension, and I just like listening to stuff more of a story. But it was voiced in the voice of there's one channel that was pumping out a bunch of these crazy stories with Joe Rogan's voice and Elon Musk's voice, and it
Right.
sounded so fucking real that I'm sitting here
Did those
like
guys record that?
I'm like confused. I'm like, wait, I watch a lot of Joe Rogan, and I would know I like not much Elon Musk, but like it sounded so real. I was sitting there like questioning it for like the first couple shorts I watched of it, then realized like, oh, this is a fucking AI voice. Another thing, these OnlyFans accounts that like guys get duped on because like they're sitting there sending money to probably some dude, right? Another dude. They're sending
It's
money
actually
to this
AI.
guy,
Yeah.
and it's just an AI made like
Yeah.
video of a girl fucking doing her, vile stuff on the internet,
Yeah.
right? But it's
And,
funny.
and
Sending regular bath
people won't
water.
care even if
Yeah.
they know it's AI. They'll be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, great! I even feel better about
Yeah.
it because it's not a real
Yeah.
person." You know?
Well, okay,
Right.
so like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you're sitting there. What's up, Rob?
Hey,
Sure,
Rob.
I heard
Rob.
you guys talking about OnlyFans, so I had to.
Yeah,
I had to
Rob.
log on.
He came running.
No, this is about to get funny. This conversation, because like 5-10 years ago, you heard about like, oh yeah, people are gonna have like these online girlfriends or like these AI girlfriends, and people legitimately now like at first I was like, this isn't. Hey, what's up, John? I was like, I was like, that's gonna be fucking 100 years in the future. That in my head as like a young 20-year-old, and then like now like you're sitting here hearing stories about people like knowing first of all knowing that they're AI and they're not real, but sitting there like cheating on their spouses or like fully invested in this AI like what's it called personality, and then on top of that you already have like these fucking weird sex bots, right? Like so when do those merge? And so it's like that's like to me that's sounding like the first step into ending the cycle of humanity when a bunch like I don't know, I see some shit going down like that's just
It could
I'm
be.
yeah.
And I hope that certain people, this won't apply to, but I hope that the majority of people, because they know it's AI, yeah, of course they'll love it because your AI girlfriend could be perfect, right, in every way, and be able to, and no human person can probably compete. But at some point in time, you just kind of go, well, I want something real. You know what I mean? And maybe that's because we grew up in a world where we're all very familiar with what real is, and maybe future generations won't experience that. But I would hope that there will still be a craving for, yeah, AI made this art. And then we go, but a human made this art. Holy crap, a person made this. Can you believe that? You know what I mean? And even though the AI art might be better, or the AI girlfriend might be better, maybe it'll give us a greater appreciation for human accomplishment. I don't know.
Yeah. So I want to circle back real quick to manipulation of AI and how we've already seen instances where it has happened. The simple basis of even Chat GPT, you ask it to make a joke about President Trump, and it will. You ask it to make a joke about Joe Biden, and it will not. And then you got Google's Gemini AI that came out, and somebody had put in there to make a picture of the founding fathers, and they were super diverse. There was a black man and a Native American, and and then they also tested it. Well, show me an image of well, I won't say the word Yahtzee soldiers, right? And it was a super diverse crowd once again, and it was it's programmed to be woke. It's programmed to be DEI is included with it. So
Not only that stuff, but I don't know if you saw the recent stuff with Google AI. They got hammered again. I think it was a couple of days ago.
Oh Lord.
Something about eating pebbles. They asked it basically how many rocks should an infant consume or something like that. And Google, I don't know what the parameters were in the text, but the Google AI spit out something to the effect of like 1 pebble per day or whatever whatever it said. It was like, come on, man! Like you can manipulate the AI to say something stupid like that. And there was another one about putting glue on pizza. And so I think they're moving. Did you see that one? Somebody put in like their cheese keeps falling off on their pizza, and the recommendation was to use a small amount of glue.
No, food safe. They said food safe glue. The AI was smart enough to do that.
Yeah, Google. I think with the bias manipulation is a given, and you can kind of you can weed through that stuff, but just the flat out incorrect stuff, because even with Chat GPT, and I think they've gotten better, you can query enough to make it answer falsely, and then you can correct them and say, oh, you're right, my apologies, and then they'll spit out the right answer. So like just being wrong is one of the biggest concerns. And then how do you whose AI is better or more correct,
Right,
and less bias or least bias?
And will that be solved eventually? Will it get to a point to where it can? Well, that's also the guardrails, right? Once it gets to a point to where manipulation and interference is no longer effective, well, then I think we would no longer have control of it either.
Yeah, I mean that's I think that's what they were saying, is once it becomes sentient, it can determine. What was it? This was part of the discussions yesterday. Was that it can tell right from wrong, and it can kind of make corrections, through moral issues and stuff like that. So it's scary stuff, man.
But can it be programmed with morals? I'm not sure if it could.
No, I mean, it can only be programmed with morals by the user with the parameters they set on it. Right. It's once it starts to develop and change its own decision making based off of learning habits or whatever, that's the scary part. It doesn't need human input anymore, and in fact ignores human input.
That's where you
scary,
need
but
some
also
sort of guardrail. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's scary, but also, is that not what we kind of need it to be at the same time?
To an extent, but if humans don't evolve with it and learn to work, what's the word? Not cohesively, but synergetically with AI. I mean, we either will be consumed and controlled by it, or we'll adapt and use the hell out of it. Right. That's what I think.
So the Neo and gosh, why can't I think of the movie now?
Matrix.
In my mind, the more that I've learned about AI, I don't think it's going to be that the machines take us over and end up using us as human batteries. I think it's going to be kind of the comment that the Gray Pilgrim put in there 3 times. Just wait till VR gets to the point of touch and scent. I think it's going to be voluntary. We're going to be like, nope, the VR world's way better. I'm going to go get in my pod and just leave me there forever.
Ready Player One.
Yeah, exactly. Don't want to be in the real world. That's probably what will end up happening.
You're muted, Daimyo. I can't hear you.
That's why I tried talking like multiple times.
Oh yeah, we couldn't hear you.
Oh no.
Yeah. So
no,
I'm just fucking with them. No. What I thought that was really interesting what you'd said, Jim, about like training it to understand morality. So its only understanding of morality, emotion, is going to be what the definitions that we plug into it, and that's kind of like, so okay, you tell it like sad means this, happy means this, angry means this. So like it's just going to take what we tell it, right? And then it's going to expand on the database that it has and sift through examples of it. But like, okay, so what if it takes like the morality of a certain Austrian, right? Or someone like Kim Jong Un, right, or something like. I feel like there's a really dangerous game to be played when we start trying to program an AI self-learning program to be to start messing with emotion, right, or what it views as emotion. Because then what, like, then we're like, and again, like that's when like it starts, I think, getting out of our reach of control, right? When we start trying to train it to be like a human. Humans are, I don't have to. It's self-explanatory. Humans are very flawed. So for it to be, for it to start recognizing human emotion, I think is one thing, but for it to start trying to implement or recreate that, I think is even more terrifying, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, like knowing what the definitions of these words, like happy, sad, or whatever. I mean, you can program a computer to interpret definitions, and even maybe recognize facial features. Smile when you're happy. But then when you get down to the nuanced stuff, is interpreting someone's emotional state. I can be smiling, but is it a devious smile? Is it is it a fake facade smile? Like you can't really
sarcastic.
Yeah. I mean,
Evil.
once you get to a point where it can kind of sift through all of that and not to use the how, all right, controversial subject like autism, right? People, they're very bad with social cues, right?
Yeah.
I've had friends that were really bad when you were trying to be sarcastic or just joke around with them, and they didn't get it at first, and they were like, "It was a joke," like, "Oh, okay."
Oh yeah.
And like getting a computer to kind of get beyond that to interpret a scenario where someone should be mad, but they're not mad and they're actually happy, and it's trying to understand sarcasm and horseplay and and friendly banter. Yeah. I don't think we're anywhere near that, but if we ever are, that's a scary thought.
I would imagine the first humanoid robot that we build with an AI system is going to be like the utmost autistic person you've ever met. That's kind of how I view it to be. And I'm saying that with all seriousness, like
with all due respect.
Yeah, with all due respect.
And I do mean
like Data from Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
Like Data?
Exactly. Yeah.
Look, here's the thing. Fine. Listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded. In that
let me pose this question.
Yeah.
I'm kind of retarded.
It's like the ultimate guardrail to basically to impose like morals and kind of steer this car. Is that guardrail merging? Because I foresee that happening. You already have Neuralink, which is doing good things, but like someday this phone will become obsolete. I think. I believe that we'll get to the point to where we basically merge with it.
Let me ask a counter question. You went through COVID, right?
Never heard of it.
What happened when mandatory vaccines rolled out? You see where I'm getting at with that? Like, I understand your theory and what you're talking about. Like, merging could potentially help, but dude, like, I know for a fact there are gonna be people who are like, absolutely not. I'm never doing that.
I think it's inevitable. It's inevitable. It's only a matter of time.
Not in our lifetime, though.
No, yeah, in our lifetime.
I don't know, man.
In our lifetime, we are already at that point.
I mean, look,
being refined.
You can look at something, and we talked about it yesterday. Something as simple as this: having a cell phone a long time ago was just like it was a luxury. It was a gimmick. It was just something that you saw on a movie or whatever.
Yep.
And you either had one if you were rich, or like 99.9% of everybody else didn't have one, and you lived your life that way. Now, if you don't have one, you can't participate in society.
I agree.
Well, you'll be left behind.
So
if we're like, just follow my line of thinking. If we've advanced in technology, that exponential line that you always see, or the graph from 30, 40 years ago to today. Right. Now imagine 30, 40 years from today with the assistance of AI and all this new computing tech, quantum, and the exponential advancements in computing and in AI.
Need a bigger chart.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be mandatory. You're going to get left behind. I mean, you're already seeing companies get left behind who aren't implementing AI into their processes.
Yeah.
And they called it out like 3 years ago when like Chat GPT came out and they started releasing the the beta versions, and companies started grabbing a hold of it and then like, how can we capitalize on this? And now it's everywhere. Every company, every system, every software, every developer is going to be using this tech, and it's only going to be worse exponentially over the next couple of decades.
I don't disagree with anything you said there. I want to make it clear too. Like I think it will happen. I just don't think like there's going to be a mandate specifically on all of that happening.
I never said a mandate, but
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But it's the same. It's just, like I said, it's the same with the phone. There's not a mandate to have a cell phone. You're just not going to be able to participate in 99% of society.
You're not going to get a job without an email. So along this line, here's something recent. The first Neuralink.
I saw that
patient playing chess.
I wasn't able to really do much the last few years, especially not like this.
Like this was 2 months ago, but like,
did you see him playing Mario Kart?
No, I haven't seen that.
So Jim, on the same chess thing, I'm pretty sure around the same time too, AI started beating like the top 3 world chess masters, which before it wasn't the case, correct? And then now these AI systems are beating like the best chess player in the world, which is, again, that's another very like interesting thing to look at right now.
Not only that, but the ultimate chess game of dogfighting too. They've now run simulators against AI pilots and human pilots, and 0 times has a human pilot succeeded. 0 times. Like it knows exactly where to bank and when to shoot and when to you can't compete with that.
Okay, so this is where it's getting difficult to not think about like TI-800s and Terminator, because honestly, okay, so they start being
those just little bitty drones.
But this is my point. Like, so it's getting to the point where we're trying to improve an AI system so well that it can think for itself without us having to guide it in many ways at all, other than deploying it. So, and then at the same time, right? So it can control the technology that we build for it when it starts thinking for itself, and then starts becoming sentient. Like this whole theory, it's just like that's I think where most of this like deep-rooted fear comes from in terms of AI, is because we all grew up with watching movies. Like whether you were born in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, we've all seen this shit on screen. That's where I get kind of like, oh man, like jets are being fought by jet pilots are being outfought by computer systems. Like, come on, that doesn't raise a red flag for anyone.
Israel's Iron Dome. I mean,
which also has done very good for Israel. Like, so
it's almost flawless. Like it, and that's not even, as far as I know, not even implementing AI targeting systems. That's just an algorithm.
It's kind of the point of developing this complex level of AI, so that it can make those decisions instantaneously without human input. Because the human aspect, you're going to get the fraction of a second delay in decision making or whatever. It's kind of like the new RoboCop. I don't know if you saw that, when they kept taking the human aspect out of him because he was fraction of a second too slow, whatever. I mean, that's kind of the point of AI. But
the fear is, if it's controlling something like an Iron Dome, the AI goes, you know what? I think I'm going to let a few of those through. That's I foresee that being best for humanity.
Yeah.
So I
Good
kind of
for
want to
unity.
I kind of want to change gears a little bit.
We had a good question from your chat. I can
which one?
probably Great Pilgrim.
He has 4 of them.
So doesn't the military already have robot dogs? So they are in development. What's the company? Boston Dynamics.
Yeah.
And here at Fort Benning, up at Kelly Hill, I think it's Kelly Hill or Sand Hill. They do a lot of testing with the dogs. So you'd see them here at Bragg too. You'd see the controllers walking with the robotic systems. And it used to just be the tracked ones for EOD. Those have been out for a long time. But now you've got the dogs, and now they're working with the drones. I don't know if you saw that one. That one just came out. I don't know how they got that footage out, but the drones.
Oh, dude, that's so funny you pulled that up, Jim.
Yeah.
This one's China's.
Yeah. Hold on.
Oh God.
But yeah, they have a bunch of testing of that level of stuff going on already. So it's only a matter of time before it's actually implemented in the field.
Well, and think about the advantage something like AI gives a country that the U.S. as a superpower might not see as a threat right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, is it the new nuclear weapon? You know.
I mean, if they unlock this, they can just control the nuclear weapons through that, right? But I see what you're saying.
That also goes upon the race thing too. If China beats us with AI and is able to ask AI the best strategy,
this is our race to the moon. That's how I'm viewing it. AI, like getting AI is our race to the moon.
Consequences.
It's our nuclear, or Cold War. So when I said I wanted to change gears, it was the fact that it's getting to the point where it's needing, like, for these super complex AI systems, they're needing multiple data. What's it called? Why am I forgetting the word for it?
Like servers?
No. It's I literally build them. It's the buildings with all the data servers in them. I don't know why I'm forgetting the name. Data center. Yeah, I don't know why. Anyway, they're needing multiple data centers, which need to get powered by nuclear power plants. So, like, China and us are actually, like, building more nuclear power plants
should have been like 10 years ago.
Right.
I agree with that. But they're building them and buying them for the only reason to build data centers surrounding them, which the nuclear power plant feeds power to these multiple servers. I thought that was interesting because if this thing becomes sentient or whatever, what's to stop it from just taking over the regions of their areas?
Amazon building a data center.
Amazon. So, like, I only know this based off being an electrician and doing construction management for electrical. So, like, all major tech companies build data centers for each of their companies next to each of their headquarters. And they're constantly, like, because, like, the growth in social media, these companies are constantly building new data centers. But again, that takes a lot of power in itself just for one data center. And I think it's just an interesting topic because these AI systems, like, for the amount of data that they need, they need to be run off of like 2 or 3, probably sometimes 4, I would imagine. So I don't know. I thought that would be an interesting kind of thing to touch on.
Yeah, I don't know the tech behind AI, man. That's something like nobody really ever talks about. I've seen the data centers there was a period of my life when I was changing jobs in the military that I had to get a temp job while I was waiting for my paperwork to go through. And I worked for a company that was a kind of a satellite company off of eBay. And I just did the software tech support. But we would go to the locals. So the main data centers up in San Jose, I think, for eBay. This was years ago. But we would go to the local satellite building with just rows and rows these computing systems, and all the security and stuff in there was pretty impressive. And like, I had no idea what those things were for, or how it worked, or what they were powering. But I imagine there's those things all over the place. But with the advancements of technology, I mean, they're going to get more and more intricate. I don't think they're going to get bigger and bigger. I think they're just going to get more advanced. We're getting better with conserving space and computing, and go underground, send it up into space, put it up in the mountains or whatever.
Well, also, isn't there a potential for AI to be able to come up with a better system
Yeah.
to store data that requires less space, that requires less energy? Also, a better way to create energy, a better way to store energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're gonna get into the weeds with like all of that stuff, just because so apparently you can store data in water, like hydrogen. I'm too stupid to understand it, but apparently that's like a really useful way of storing memory. So I think there's going to be a level of also like money. Like you don't think that I personally think the current AI could probably get pretty close to creating cures for a lot of these different diseases, but then you're dealing with pharmaceutical companies that are taking over them, and this is my kind of like tinfoil hat breaching out right now, but I don't know. I think there's a point where like AI could probably do a lot of this stuff, but they're not willing to give up the amount of influence and power that these companies are already making without the
and let's, I mean, when you think about AI, and maybe at some point in the future this won't be the case, but AI can like, the way I see AI right now is it has the ability to take in and analyze data on a scale that we can't as humans, and consider all those things. And it takes massive computing power, which, like I said, if we want to interject quantum computing into AI, that will even give it more power. But it would still have to, it's not like going to magically be able to come up with answers and solutions. It still needs data. Some of it could do its own tests and simulations. Let's say it was going to develop a new power source. Well, the best an AI could do, if it's just existing in a computer, is input all of the known data in the world about energy, look at it and say, hey, have you guys tried this? And then somebody's going to have to actually go run those experiments, unless we connect it to a robot and it can run out and build the components and do it. So I think if AI is used strategically to help us see things in ways that we haven't, do calculations that we wouldn't even consider because we can't consider the scope of it, that it'll be a super useful tool. But we're still going to need either humans or robots or somebody to go do physical things in the physical world.
Well, also,
so until they build the T800, I think we're a little safer than.
So to take it away from the fear of like robots and stuff, also energy doesn't come from nowhere. So which is why I wanted to kind of address this, is because like if they're needing to have specific nuclear power plants for AI, in my mind, with our current grid, I just don't see us being able to feed all the different, they're trying to roll out electric cars, all this other stuff that has to do with electricity, and solar panels really don't make up much of the amount of energy that we use. They kind of just help take off a little bit from the surface of the amount of power that's needed to provide for the world. So, I think it's just interesting. It's also at the same time the fact that nuclear power is making it a stance in the AI and technology world. It's a little funny to see people talk about all these like free energy things, because I mean, they've argued against nuclear power for decades now, right? Because of all the catastrophes. So I just think it's a funny kind of ironic thing that, I think AI is going to play a big role in how our grid's going to be energized in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think
they're gonna make people turn people into batteries
Yeah.
on the Matrix.
See,
That's what I think they're gonna do.
and I agree with you. It's good, but it's going to be voluntary. They're going to be like, hey, all you got to do is go sit in this pod, and you
Yeah,
can live an amazing life.
Yeah.
I'm like,
blue collar work is about to turn into running the wheel like a mouse.
right, you're the answer on the wheel.
I mean, all they're gonna have to do is figure out a way to, like, when they put these people in these pods, because everybody talks about getting in the pods, right?
Yeah.
And eating your bugs and getting
Yeah, I
in
was
the
gonna
pods.
say.
Yeah,
You just figure out a way to capture the energy created by the person in this pod by movement and heat and all that other stuff, and then you've got all of the people who would rather live that kind of life voluntarily, generating all of this electricity. And yeah, man, it's gonna happen. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's gonna be Wally. It's gonna be Wally. It's gonna be Ready Player One. Matrix.
well, yeah, you could tie it to stimulation. Oh, fuck's sake.
The
Simulation
Yeah.
theory too, right? It could easily make a program.
Jim, that's a whole other. That's a whole other.
I understand, but it could. But AI,
Maybe
if it
force some
wanted
people into
to,
pods.
it wanted us to get the hell out of the way. It could either make us stop reproducing with sex robots that women and men can't compete with, or it could create a simulation that we don't want to take the red pill no more. We just want to exist in it.
What do you think, Antonio?
He's no good.
well, good.
He's no good.
Not good.
Yeah, I don't know. I like running down that hole a little bit because I think that could be a direction that this goes. But I like to put a little more stock into merging with it. And
Have you guys seen the new movie Atlas yet? I know there's a lot of haters out there.
I actually just saw some marketing for it, and I didn't know it was a thing. So
I have it. Atlas, if you can get past everybody's negative Nancy comments from the geeks world, yes, that J-Lo's in it, but it's J-Lo. I mean, she is who she is, and she always been the same person, and her acting is just as bad as it was before. If you can get past that,
is her ass still big?
yeah, and they make sure to do a shot. Yeah. But the movie itself is really fun to watch because it entertains the idea of tech and AI integration. And if AI got away from us, what would happen, and how we work together with AI, like integrated into our our neural net, I think is what they call it, but it's supposed to be I'm assuming a spin on Elon's Neuralink.
I'll have to watch it because I sat down a couple nights ago and watched the little teaser that they do on Netflix, and I couldn't even get through that. I was like, nope, this is grinding on my nerves, and it was J-Lo doing her little thing.
It's J-Lo,
and I don't have anything against her. I just, it was that, and I'm like, they picked the wrong scene. I'll give it another chance later, but it just seems so.
The rest of the characters, I mean, it's all fine. The dude from Shang-Chi is in it. J-Lo, like I said, she's great at rom-coms, not so much on being a badass, whatever they call them, the superhero, she-boss. There you go.
I was like, when she showed up like a boss in the scene I saw, she was kind of giving orders and acting like the leader, and her hair is just all this.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
Who
who
does that?
She's supposed to be a mess.
Okay, I was like,
and
yeah, I think in context, it will make sense then.
Yeah, but the movie, again, J-Lo aside, the rest of the movie is fun if you like the conspiracy theories and maybe hopeful integration of AI and people and technology. I think it's a fun thing to think about.
Well, I think what you said earlier, Rob, is true, which is it's inevitable. I agree with that. I
completely agree too.
And what I hope, this is a hope, is whenever we build a powerful tool that can kill us all, like nukes, we find a way to balance it somehow. And
We use them once, and then we don't touch them for 50 years.
yeah,
So-
we'll have a bad experience with it. We'll learn, and then hopefully, and that's just a hope. I have no evidence
So-
other than
so-
human history to say that we usually go that route because we're still here.
Dave, I want to actually use that as like I feel like I've been doing a bunch of fear mongering, just bringing up the topics of the stuff that I feel like I'm afraid of. But at the same time, I'm sure this is actually how a lot of people that grew up during the Cold War felt. That like, okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna die from nuclear fallout, all this other stuff. Nuclear bombs are gonna blow us up. I feel like that, like, and to connect it back to what you said, a couple minutes ago about how, is this the next nuclear bomb? Like, this is kind of like I would agree. Like, it really is like I think a lot of people are afraid of what they don't know, right, and what they can't control. And I think that's really where we're seeing it. But like you said, we're still here. Nuclear bombs have been there. Now, nuclear war right now is more possible than ever, I would argue. But it was made how long ago, right? Like close, not close, but like 3/4 of a century away, right? Like when it first started happening. So, I think there's a level of warranted fear, but at the same time, we still I think we'll actually end up creating something very beneficial for ourselves. But there could be problems. And look, who knows? There might be an AI that people make, like we were talking about, to mitigate all this stuff and to kind of oversee it. And an AI powerful enough to, like, when it sees a problem with other AIs, it just takes them out immediately. Like we could come up with something like that.
The great AI war of 2532, man.
Survive the AI
As long as we're sitting on the side eating
this is a
popcorn,
movie.
that's fine.
There's a movie about this called The Creation or The
Rob.
Creator. Have you
Rob.
seen that?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I
that's it,
haven't
yeah.
seen that one yet.
Another great
Yeah.
movie about
That's a good one.
AI
Yeah.
taking on AI. I love
Yep.
that movie.
That is it.
First of all, Rob, welcome to Aliens and Conspiracy. This is what we do on this channel.
Dude, I love the thought of that, and we won't be around for it, but the thought of us advancing technology to the point of our extinction is it's an exciting topic I love talking about.
Well, isn't Blade Runner kind of down that same line as well? That's another one where
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting you say we may not be around for it, because we could very well not only just merge with it, but also be able to kind of essence transfer and plant our subconscious and
All right.
keep upgrading. Like,
All right.
we could become cyborgs potentially.
I would totally do it. I would totally
legitimately.
do it in a heartbeat.
I've been
I mean,
holding on.
who really wouldn't? I mean,
Jim, I've been holding on to this one. I'm gonna just shoot it now. How do we know that these aliens that we've been seeing in UFOs aren't just high performing AI systems that they didn't tell us about? That's kind of where I'm thinking, like, these drones and sightings of things. So, drones in quotations, these things that are seen going Mach 15, like, going in between water and stuff. Like, how do we know that, like, these sightings aren't just like a system that ourselves, like the US or other countries, have created, and they all have them, but just haven't rolled out the technology? They talk about how, technology is 20 years behind, at least, for the public in comparison to the governments. So again, I wish I had my tinfoil hat wrapped right now, but
that
how do you
sounds
know
like
we're not already in a pod? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, no. Well, again.
I was going to say it's
this
probably
all sounds
all
awfully
that is the black cat from the Matrix. Is that you're seeing whenever they see these weird things go on in the sky, it's just the glitch that the simulation let through and let people see for a moment.
Dude, I was looking for that one. I forgot what it was.
Yep.
This is why you have control to the channel.
That's right. That's right. You gave me access.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's we're now entering the area of just like it's fun to speculate, right? Like,
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. If we don't mind, I'd like to talk about some of the things that some of us here have accomplished with AI.
You see
And
X-Wing? Sorry.
our good friend Dave,
X-Wing. I never get an invite anymore. Who invited X-Wing?
X-Wing. What's up, buddy?
Hell yeah. Yeah, our good buddy Dave made this music video of Helldivers 2
with a lot of help from AI.
Yep. AI's taking over.
Give you a little taste of it. We love it.
An impossible mission is our beck and
Copyright
call.
strike.
Bearing super
Yeah, I'm putting in a
we
copyright strike.
bring
You don't have to
freedom
put it.
to
I'm totally
all.
kidding.
With ultimate weapons and ammo galore, no need to worry. We're a peacekeeping force. 4 against 1,000, but we like the odds. We are hell divers and we can't be stopped. We bring democracy to destroy all tyranny.
All right,
Yep.
kind of get it.
So can I
Great
just
song.
take a minute to give my thoughts on this, because this is an area where we saw last year, I think it was, the Writers Association and actors, were on strike because of AI, right? Because it's affecting, you as you pointed out earlier, you can take someone's voice and use it forever and never have to pay them again. And it can write scripts, it can make videos, it can make music. Well, the way I look at this, and the reason why, as someone, I went to film school, I am a filmmaker, I create content, so I understand this. I mean, at times it has been my income. So, but I look at it as an equalizer, because certain people, depending on where you were born, how you were raised, what access you have to things, the ability to be able to create some content may have been out of reach. And then the example I like to use is this. You say, I'm like, I wanted to create a song with my friends, and I wanted it to be about Helldivers, and I wanted it to be about this thing. Well, I can go write the lyrics to it, put it into AI, and have it generate some songs saying, make a country song, whatever. And now I'm able to do that. And somebody else on the other side would say, well, you just took away work from somebody. And I'm like, no, I didn't, because number one, I wouldn't have been able to afford to hire somebody to go out and write a song like that. Right. But let's say that was the case. Well, we've already seen that transition. I'm old enough, you can see the gray in my beard, that I remember before we had digital cameras and digital editing. I learned how to make films on old school film and cutting it with razors and doing that sort of stuff.
You stole money from George Lucas.
Right. But you think about every time you post to Instagram, or you're trying to promote yourself, you can make the argument you took away somebody's job, because back in the day, if you wanted to publish something, you had to spend a lot of money. You had to publish it in magazines, TV, radio, whatever. If you had a brand or an idea or a little, not a channel like this, this wasn't possible. What we're doing right now was not possible. Look at YouTube now. Look at the industry that it's spawned. Look at all the people out there making money. Yeah. I think AI is going to kill industries and spawn a whole bunch more. Right. And it's going to help us. We're going to be able to hear music, see art that is inspired by humans, because that song we just played right there was definitely helped by AI, but I wrote the lyrics. I guided it, and I wanted it to say certain things because they were important to me as a human being. Yeah. I think that AI is going to, the negative of it is it's going to kill industries.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's going to open up industries that we didn't even know were going to exist. And YouTube is a perfect example of that. Who could have predicted YouTube back in 2000?
Dave, I actually want to touch on that before everyone else. I think the first people. That's funny.
We'll have to jobs. I mean, that's actually true. The OnlyFans comment is actually true. But look how many more people are making money in that industry now than before.
I think the safest folk, in terms of what you're talking about, are the ones that are utilizing their physical body for like blue collar. They're probably the last people to get.
Right.
I think the first people are the, like you said, the musicians, the artists,
Right.
the what's it called,
Truck
like anyone
drivers.
business, right? Business models aren't going to be needed anymore when you have an AI system that can just
Writing code.
write code.
Yeah.
Anyone that's in technology or economists, people working in banks, they're all fucked first. Then they're going to roll out, and truck drivers. Unfortunately, I think that's going to be one of the first ones.
Yeah, when you go to
But are they? That's my question. So if you're a programmer working for a big company, and you have to, because you don't have the means to go out and create the most amazing software that nobody's thought of yet, well, now you do. Like right now, as a movie maker, I have the ability using Unreal Engine 5 to go out and create an entire movie that is so close to realistic looking, and we're very almost to the point where I could do that in my house. I don't need a $500 million budget. Yeah, that's bad for Hollywood, but great for me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And I have formats like YouTube where I can promote it and publish it, and I don't need it to make $1 billion to be profitable. So I think we as human beings will adapt. It'll be a temporary thing where somebody gets out of work, but that person will now have opportunities they didn't have in the past. I don't
learn to code, I think is what they say, right?
Every advancement we've had in technology has destroyed industries and spawned 10 more in its place. It's like
it's going to be growing pains for sure.
Yeah, there'll be growing pains. I'm not saying it won't be hard. I'm not saying it won't financially devastate certain people. So I'm not promoting it as a good thing. I'm just saying I like to see the silver lining and say all over human history, we adapt because we want to be successful. We want to survive. You can look at people who've been in the worst possible situations, and certain individuals find a way to thrive. You know what I mean? Like we're kind of like cockroaches. You can't kill us. You know?
Also, couldn't those, human-made songs and human-made art still and photography, won't that potentially also just make that a little more valuable?
That's what I think.
There'll be a smaller market for it, and okay, like when you could roll this whole thought process backwards and say, when cameras were invented, portrait artists were like, well, damn it, there goes my livelihood. Now
you're just telling me you can take a picture of this and nobody has to paint it.
I don't have to make these people hold still for 4 hours while I paint them.
1 second.
Perfect example.
Even the photo editing technology. Someone would take a photo, then you get the next professional to go in there and do all the touch-ups and the coloring and the lighting.
Photoshop guys, and now they've added filters and all
that.
Kind of
AI, you do it on your phone with a little filter. Yeah, it's and now those people can go create an Instagram account where they're making $5,000 a month. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just
like with the Photoshop and image generating, I made this with a whole lot of AI, but I had to do some altering myself. But a logo for a company I'm working on, but just the ability to be able to make this. How much would this have cost me to pay a?
So my brother does like graphic design, like freelance and professionally, and he it's steep. Like he's not. And he always shits on me for using Canva because he's like, oh, Photoshop can do all that stuff. I'm like, yeah, but I also it's quick and easy.
Yeah.
It looks good. There's flaws. There's
Yeah, no, it's a funny thing. I think that's gonna be one of the best tools. One of my favorable tools is once we get to Dave, I actually just downloaded Unreal Engine 5 for whatever reason. Maybe we can talk privately. For whatever reason, it won't actually open for me. I've had it downloaded, but another conversation.
Motherboard doesn't go.
Nah, the motherboard's fine. I think it's could be the processor. To be honest, it's not. It crashes the second I try to open a project. But I think it's going to get to the point with AI where we can have softwares like this, and you don't have to do the what's it called when you wear the suit in film production and go through the motions, and then they bring that into CGI, motion capture, right?
Motion capture. Yep, that's it.
So I think it's going to get to the point where they have so much motion capture, that you can just replicate that and throw that in as a plugin to softwares like Unreal Engine.
Oh, 100%. And
Right?
it will be motion capture. Like if you could make a library of motion capture of an actor, and then it will have their voice, it'll have their swagger, it'll have their and they don't even need the motion capture anymore. Yeah.
Bruce Willis famously signed off his rights to in the future be able to use his image and likeness to,
like you think about if you, and I'm talking just back in 2000, right? 24 years ago, if you'd have said, hey, was YouTube 2010 or something like that. You say in 10 years, there's going to be this format that comes out where there's going to be nearly 4 million videos uploaded a day by people around the world. And you're going to have a chance to be able to make content and make some money, maybe even a living off of it, but make money. But if not, even influence and to your friends, whenever people go, I have a TV with 30, however many cable channels were in 2000, 300 channels. How am I going to deal with 3 million videos a day? There's no way. That'll never work. It's a bad idea. It'll ruin. Yeah. And I'm like, look where we are. So we are actually pretty smart, resilient beings. And we will find a way. There will be growing pains. It'll suck for people in certain industries, but we'll find a way and probably end up in a better place. That's what I think. I hope.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And right now, like I wouldn't trust to live in a home, especially with gas and electrical and plumbing, that's built all by robots and AI right now.
Right.
Absolutely not. But if you had an AI system that is just, and look, math is gonna be the first one that it hits. Anything that to do with math and like high equation computing, they're gonna be the first victims of it, right? So that's why I'm thinking people that are in business and finance are fucked immediately, because when it starts getting rolled out to where it could be utilized by the public and by private companies, they're gonna instantly go to like, okay, so why am I hiring a guy for data entry or for even things like estimating, like construction estimating? Probably not soon, but it's going to get to the point where anything that you don't need to hire a human for, they're just not going to. If you can have a system do it for you digitally, quickly. X-Wing, the 3D printing, does that use it like an AI system or software at all in any way, or does it?
Yeah, it uses software. So you have to use something called slicing software. So essentially, what that does is taking like an STL file, which is a 3D rendering of whatever you have, and it turns it into ones and zeros that the printer can actually understand. So, I mean, it's the same as anything else. When you have something on a Word document, when you send it to the printer, it changes it to ones and zeros. So, the processor knows what to do.
Yeah. On that point, I'm sure AI is not far behind to be able to make those schematics that you need for them instantaneously. Like, instead of having to find the file, download the file, upload the file to the machine to be able to do it, you could just simply do a search. I want to make this shaped, similar to this. Basically,
I think that exists already. Yeah.
Basic functions, though. I mean, basic functions 100% can be replaced by AI, but there will never, I don't think in our lifetime anyway, there will ever be a replacement for, say, me talking to Rob about the emotions that he experienced when he was, in a place of great conflict, right? There will never be a replacement for a phone conversation that I just had with my brother's wife about singing a particular song in a certain kind of way. I've been messing with Suno AI, which is Dave, did you use Suno?
Yeah, that's Suno. That was Suno. Yep.
Yeah. So like Suno, I mean, you can give it stuff, but to really get it to where you need to get it to, it's very difficult. If you can get the prompts right to get it there, it's still very difficult. And then beyond that, you can always tell as a human, there's that uncanny valley. There's that little bit where you just know that didn't come from a living, breathing, feeling person.
So to that point,
Yeah.
like I think we're going to be able to get to the point where you could create like an AI system could replicate a Dali style painting. But like I don't think it's ever going to get to the point where you can invoke the emotion that like an artist. Well, not ever. That's maybe too far of a step. I think it's going to take a long time for an AI system to be able to replicate that emotion that, like what you were talking about, X, and coming from music. Like there are certain artists like Van Gogh, right? Like all like Rembrandt, like these. There are artists out there that like it. The ability to invoke emotion through art is something that I think is the human touch, and until an AI system can actually create inherent emotion, I don't think we're gonna ever see something like that.
It's in its infancy, but it will learn and it will grow just like humans do. It will learn and it will grow, and I think it's going to take time for it to learn and grow patterns from millions of different human beings. I mean, look how long it took us, right? It'll take time, but it will get there, and it'll get there exponentially faster than we did.
Yeah.
Well, that's my point. I don't think it'll be as far off as you might be thinking now.
I think
it'll still never be fully replaced.
Part of me is biased in terms of the like fine art and illustration. So I feel like you'd probably think the same. Anyone that does music, I know Dave, you play guitar. Rob, you're a musician too, X-Wing. So like, there's like a certain like skepticism that I have against like a computer being able to invoke that emotion. So there's probably a level of bias that I'm thinking here.
The like when I think about that Suno song that I'll say I created or I wrote, because I did write the lyrics. I did try initially to use ChatGPT to write lyrics because writing lyrics is hard. And I tried to plug it in and get some lyrics, and and I'm like, you know what? It's going to take me more effort to teach or prompt AI to get me what I want than it is for me to just do it. And that is what I think X-Wing is saying there. It's like there's a certain point where talented people who have certain talents, it's just going to be easier to actually do it themselves and get the exact result they want because they already understand from a human perspective the goal, the emotion, and whatnot. You have to teach or prompt or whatever the AI to get into your brain to understand what you want, and that process can be no matter how smart. It's like me sitting down to another person and trying to do that. That's not even AI. That's real intelligence. That's a hard thing to do.
Also, I see it before that stage. I see something like, as an illustrator, I take a photograph of, let's say, the leaning tower of
Pisa.
Yeah, and say I give the AI that photo, and I say create a black and white outline of the structure, and then it feeds that to me. Then I can use that to draw to scale. So I think that's essentially what Suno's doing right now, right? Like, maybe a little bit more because it'll add the music and stuff like that. But I think it'll get to a point where, like, you say, I want this in A minor. Make a melody that's soothing, but also has some like you know what I'm saying. Like you'll prompt it to be able to create it'll be more of a tool than it will be an artist, right? Like that's kind of how I think we're going to actually see it in our lifetime, and then our children and grandchildren are going to actually have the full effect of like, okay, so you have an artist.
Oh, we'll be having walking AI robots by the time my grandkids are around. 100%. We already have Siri. That's your personal assistant, right?
Yeah. But my point is that it's never going to get to the point where there isn't going to be a need for that human touch. Maybe not never. It's going to take a long time.
Definitely not never.
So actually, because you deal with boilers, X-Wing. Do you guys use BIM modeling at all?
Do we use what?
BIM modeling, BIM modeling. Do you guys use those?
Maybe the engineers.
It's 3D. It's the 3D model. So like you create a design. on paper, then you put it through a software, and then it creates.
No, we're fixing the shit that those retards created in the BIM projects.
Okay, yeah. No, I mean, same with us. But most companies right now expect you to, like, they set up a camera and all this other stuff, and they'll have a full model of like all the pipes and all this other shit that's going on in the building itself. Point being is that I think it's going to get to the point in construction where architects are going to be doing exactly what I'm talking about, where they're just overseeing what the AI is actually doing in building. Yeah, I think that's mainly where we're going to be at.
So my wife just had a really good point, Dave, about the human nature and the inability that AI was able to not help you write that song, because it doesn't understand the nuances and the humor and the emotions and the things and the flaws in the game that we find funny, that are like the line, unless it's a mortar, then we're surely to die. Like, it doesn't logically make any sense. Like, why would you're in a battle, why would you want to die? But we understand that that's hilarious and that's funny, because in the game the mortars are going to get you, know.
Unless the AI was playing the game itself alongside with this, how would it know? You know what I mean?
But even then, how would it understand that that's funny?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have the same kind of metrics and meters that we do that find certain things entertaining.
That's actually a good point. I never even thought about this until now. Video games are probably going to become us just like fighting AI. So, like, honestly, like, we're gonna be so smart that it's gonna be us versus AI first on the screen.
Yeah, and the AI is gonna use that to learn, so when they actually fight us, they can fucking destroy us.
When the TI get rolled out.
Speaking of Daimyo, I wanted to make you very happy today. I brought a special gift here to the stream.
Is that a seltzer?
This is a seltzer.
Wow.
I'm drinking a seltzer in your honor right now.
Actually, I hope you know, I showed up to Jim's house a few weeks ago, and he goes, "Wait, you're not going to drink the White Claws I bought for you?" Because I went straight for the beer. And he just downed Modelo's. I started dying.
Yeah, to be fair, I bought Modelo's as well, so his fake Mexican ass went straight.
Well, he's Asian, so he went for the Modelo's as soon as he could get them. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry, I meant you're Mexican, so you went for the Modelo's.
That's what I have in my fridge right now. Modelo's and.
My wife came home with about 6 flats of seltzers the other day. So she's leaving her job, right? So yesterday was her last day. And Friday of last week, she came home with probably like 78 gallons of seltzers and, like effervescent lemonades. And, like they do the Simply now, like Simply lemonade, but with peach and alcohol. And so I have stacks of this stuff in my house. I'm talking like cases upon cases upon cases. She didn't buy any of it. They were like, "Do you want it?" No one's buying it. It's like the High Republic. No one's buying it. And so her distribution company was just giving it away. And so now I have stacks of this crap in my house. And look, because I didn't want to buy any beer, now I have freaking seltzers all over my fucking house.
Bro, that's I'm glad I'm not the only one.
And to be fair, they're not terrible.
I'm drinking it because it's free, Daimyo. That's a different story, okay?
No, I'm talking about the empties that you just raised. I wised up and put a garbage can next to my desk.
Yeah, I have one. Right now, my garbage can is full of paper towels.
Yeah.
Because I've been working on the 3D prints, and so you need paper towels when you pull it off the 3D rack, because you have to clean the print plate. Print plate goes back on, and then you have to put it in the alcohol. And when you pull it out of the alcohol, you have to cover your desk, because the alcohol will take the varnish off your desk. And then once it's out of that, you have to dry it. And so you my paper towel revenue. Like I should get sponsored by fucking Bounty on my channel because I use so many fucking paper towels. And the whole time I'm like, there are kids starving in the Amazon right now, just because I'm fucking using all these paper towels.
You don't even have toilet paper, and you have paper towels.
The real question is, how torqued have you been getting lately?
Torqued. Honestly, I've been so good, dude. I got back and like I got back from Italy. I'm not drinking beer at all. I'm trying to lose some weight, dude. Like I was talking to Beardo earlier today. He's 225, 6'2". Okay. I'm 6'1", 230. Without any of the muscle structure that guy has. I'm carrying that shit right in the girder, dude. Just full blown keg right off the front. And I'm like, oh, fuck, it's time. Because like my healthy weight, if I'm not weightlifting, is like $190. So I'm 40 to 50 pounds overweight right now. And that's all in the gut. And that's fucking scary.
Yeah, I'm kind of in a similar boat. I shouldn't be drinking Modelo, but I love beer.
That's like a 12-year-old girl. I'm carrying like a 12-year-old girl just on my belly right now.
Yeah, but your legs are gonna be strong as shit.
Yeah, my fucking thighs are lit right now. You should see my ass. It's looking good.
Rather not.
Well, what can AI do to help that?
Every day's a leg day.
Like I said, create you a custom diet. Hey, I'm hoping AI can create a custom diet of amazing tasting food that I want to eat all the time that just gives me a six-pack.
Yeah, but how does it know if it's amazing tasting?
I don't know.
So here's where the really interesting AI discussion comes apart. Is stuff like that. If you've never tasted food, if you've never had wine, if you've never experienced one of the sensory things that computers can't do, how do you do anything, right?
Yeah.
Because other than that, I mean, our brains, humans are just computers. All we do is take in data, compile it, and then regurgitate it. That's all we are. We're just computers. But we have different inputs than a fucking computer does, right? So how do you taste? How do you smell? How do you see? And so I think someday they're going to figure out smell and taste and touch. That's where shit's gonna get wild.
Yeah.
Can they not use reviews to come up with a consensus?
Yeah. You
what tastes good, what smells good.
Yeah,
like,
but how does the computer know what the actual taste is, right?
Okay.
Like you can't engineer taste buds onto a computer. I mean, I guess you probably might be able to, but even then, it's up to the individual person.
Well, it's like the wine stuff.
My understanding is that the part in your brain that the reason why it's lost is because something's wrong in the neural pathways in your brain. So Are
we talking about trans people or?
Don't make this political.
What do you think, Antonio?
No.
What do you mean political? Trans people have nothing to do with politics.
All right, shut the fuck up. No,
Derailed.
What's it called? The Neuralink. So he essentially, what's his name's thinking that Elon Musk is thinking that could fix blindness, deafness, and it's basically trans people. Taste would probably be in that book too. So I'm thinking what this Neuralink's going to do. It's not programming what taste tastes like, if that makes sense, but it's fixing the neural pathway that's in your brain through an AI system, right? Or I that's kind of how I've interpreted it.
Maybe it can manipulate you to believe that it tastes good.
Yeah, or manipulate you to believe that you are a man when you're born with testicles, that type of thing.
You don't need fucking Neuralink for that, bud.
Yeah.
Go f yourself.
It's almost June, boys. Get ready.
Oh boy.
Sorry.
I don't know, the possibilities they're very interesting because I can kind of counter that. Like I said, with the reviews, you might be able to come up with, it can offer you a diet that you may find, tasteful to you, but also everybody's different. So
I mean, it's kind of how Suno works if you think about it. Like it can't, the AI doesn't have ears, but it can go out and look at what songs have been popular in a genre and analyze them, and then it creates songs, and you go through if you've used it and you go, well, that sounds like garbage, and then the next one you're like, wow, that one's actually pretty good. So I think it would be the same if it was able to, and I'm sure there already are applications where it can recommend recipes based on your input, and some of them might turn out amazing, some might turn out bad, but it doesn't have the ability to make it, take it and go, yep, that's good. You know what I mean?
Needs more salt.
But if you're talking about diets and stuff, like it's good, like any software that or AI system that's going to be made for creating a diet that's healthy for you, there's going to be a prompt. What's your height? What's your ethnic background? That type of thing.
I think some kind of test would be.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Once you enter in all the information,
if I'm white.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're white, it's just going to list meat and potatoes.
Is it going to ask my gender too? So that's one thing I'm really excited for. I want to fuck with AI so bad with the whole gender thing. So Grok on Twitter. I'm thinking about sitting down and filming a video where I just fuck with Grok for like an hour.
Who's Grok? Grok's the AI system
on Twitter. Yeah, it's like ChatGPT, but it's like Twitter. You know what I mean?
Is it woke or?
It's not as bad as ChatGPT.
Yeah, to be perfectly honest, it was pretty fair.
Yeah. Okay, so if you ask it to give me an image of a 1940 Nazi warrior or not warrior, soldier, is it?
Yeah, it would show Jim for sure.
Is it gonna
the Highlands.
Einstein's blue and like.
But you guys know what I'm talking about, right? ChatGPT did that, and it created an Asian. Right.
Yeah. Oh, that was actually Google's Gemini.
Oh, Google. Yeah, Gemini.
Yeah, I just asked Grok if it's woke, and it says, no, I am not woke. My guiding principles are to be maximally truthful and avoid answers that are considered woke.
Wow, fucking Elon AI, dude. I love it. Yeah. Beardo's calling me. I'll be right back.
All right, later.
I'll be back in a minute. And for some reason, my mother-in-law's here, and I don't know why. I'll be right back.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The AI systems right now are just clearly heavily influenced by whoever's making them, which is another reason why I get fearful of this whole thing. Right?
Can I steer this in a cool direction?
Yeah, please do, because we're walking on thin ice for the past like 15 minutes.
Right. I think I like to ponder upon the possibilities of weeding out corruption in our government and our political, systems, right? And Joe Rogan, kind of jokes about it all the time, saying President AI and shit. But honestly, if we can legitimately have a AI system that takes into account all the political issues and somehow can understand social issues and also be able to take a real census of all the population on certain matters too, and not be influenced by super PACs and donors and big corporations. And I kind of like that potential, like, and he had a guest that asked him, well, would you trust it? And he replied with like the best answer I've ever heard. I don't even trust who's up there now, but they're up there. Right. So it's interesting path to go down, but if it can weed out and not be influenced by certain things, I like that. I like that a whole lot more.
And I like that we if we have access to the data or whatever data we have, can have more power in getting truthful answers because we don't have the capacity or time. People always say, well, you need to become more educated about your politics.
Right.
Well, if you have an AI that you can trust, and that's the catch, right? But let's say you have one and you have access to it, you can say, well, go, and the AI knows you and what your political values are, whatever, and you can sort of ask it. It can do all that research for you and provide you with the belief system that it thinks that you should have. Now, there's some good in that, but it could also be a negative thing. But I mean, that's kind of what we're doing right now with Google, or when you just watch a certain news station, or when you just you're just looking for confirmation bias. But I think that AI could actually help weed through the crap and just say, look, I really just want to know the truth of something. I don't care that it aligns with my political values.
I don't want the spin on it.
I don't want the spin. I just want to know the truth. Is the Earth actually warming? Just tell me the truth.
Let's listen to this, because they asked ChatGPT, and I think this is kind of in line with what we're talking.
Power problems in the United States.
Oh, wait.
Power problems about that. Ask AI, what's the solution to our power problems in the United States? Yeah.
What's our solution to power problems in the United States?
I like how much she thinks.
Recently, the United States has faced several power-related challenges. One major issue has been the occurrence of power outages, which have been significant in states like Texas, Wisconsin, and California. These outages can affect tens of thousands of customers and are tracked in real time by platforms like poweroutage.us. Additionally, a series of strong geomagnetic storms have
I think we
been
asked her the wrong question. Let me ask her a different question.
Okay, hold on.
We'll ask her a question.
Let me just do a new one.
If you were president, what would be your solution to the power problems and pollution problems in the United States?
If I were president, I'd focus on a mix of renewable energy investments, energy efficiency measures, and pollution control. First, I'd push for significant investment in solar, wind, and other renewable energy sources to reduce reliance on fossil fuels. Next, I'd promote energy efficiency in buildings and transportation to lower overall energy consumption. For pollution control, I'd strengthen regulations on industrial emissions and support the development of clean technologies. Lastly, I'd encourage public transportation and electric vehicles to reduce air pollution. What do you think about these ideas?
Gay.
No.
Let me
ask her.
Oh, so ChatGPT.
How can you justify the use of electric vehicles when the minerals that are needed to create those batteries are sourced in very unethical ways all over the Congo?
That's a very important point. To justify the use of electric vehicles, we must address the ethical sourcing of minerals. Here's how. First, we can increase transparency and enforcement of ethical mining practices, ensuring companies adhere to strict environmental and labor standards. Next, investing in research to develop more sustainable and less mineral-intensive battery technologies can reduce dependency on these materials. Additionally, recycling programs for batteries can help reclaim valuable minerals and reduce the need for new mining. Finally, supporting policies that promote fair trade and environmental protections in mining regions can help mitigate some of these issues.
Okay, so I think we got the gist of what I was trying to present there. It's clearly influenced by, at least right now where we are in the state of AI systems.
And it's not solving any problems. It's just regurgitating, saying, hey, we should invest in this. I'm like, I want AI that says, here's how to do it. You take this chemical, you mix it with this one, and it creates a bad. I don't want,
at this point, it's just
regurgitating opinions on
regurgitating talking points.
Yeah, it's just
I
regurgitating
just
data points.
I
But
find
that's
it so
because of
fun.
its data. You know what I mean, and what it has access to.
Well, but
Well,
it,
its premise too. It's basically saying, given that climate change is a truth, 100% a fact.
Right.
Here's how we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And that's that already.
Yeah.
It's a biased answer, and you're not getting like the full picture.
That type of AI isn't really useful to me. I want it
Yeah.
to actually come up with a real solution that says, if you
Yeah.
built 37 nuclear power plants, you know what I mean? Like, be specific. Don't tell me invest in clean technologies. I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Define clean technology.
They've been chasing.
Tell me the
clean
exact company I
technology.
should be investing in and how much money I should put in there, and predict how much money I'm going to make. Like, your AI, figure this out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they've been chasing the clean technologies thing for a while now, and
Yeah.
the wind farms and all of the environmental impacts that those things are doing, the solar farms, right? So you would have to require everybody to install solar. Also, the government would start buying up land and installing these solar farms all over the country, because like the solar farms don't power a whole lot. We have a bunch of them out here in Georgia. And the big solar farms, they power like the little farm towns, you know, the houses and the local cities. But
Right.
like, you'd have to have those everywhere, in every house.
And my buddy worked on those, like down in Butler, Georgia. He was a big part of installing a huge solar field down there. And from what he understood, the way the company was talking and the way that they operated is they never actually really pay for themselves either. Like,
Yeah.
you only get so much from a single solar cell. Like, you'd have to have a vast area, and then you also have to talk about maintenance and what that does to erosion. And you can't really reuse those. And
Yeah.
same with the wind farms and the blades, and they all just get buried, and that's
It's such
not
a
good.
farce.
That's not good.
It's such a farce, the whole thing.
What if it's not windy?
Yeah.
What if it's not windy? What if it's super cloudy? What if we get hit by an impact and you know?
Yeah.
I guess in that one we're kind of fucked.
Yeah, I mean, look, I just think it's funny how, like, the whole AI president thing. Like, we couldn't trust an AI to run a country for
yet.
At least, well, that's what I'm saying. At least bare minimum 50 years. If it's growing exponentially, right? 50 years.
I don't know. I don't know how we can accurately predict the timelines of these things.
Well, obviously, it's not an accurate prediction.
Well, yeah,
but
for sure.
I'm saying that's my opinion, that like 50 years before I start trying, like the end of my life, right? So 50 years from now, I'm 78, maybe. Which would be a wild thing to see, an election between like humans and like a party, like, whether it's Libertarian, Democrat, or Republican, one of those parties trying to like put their candidate as an AI system would be wild to see. Like, so
I could see it likely running, like, political candidates will be running on, utilizing AI to its full potential to help solve these problems, and eventually it'll just be like, well, what do we need you for?
Boys, I have to bail. I apologize. I know I was just gone for 10. I got the phone call. I got a boot scoop boogie. Everybody have a wonderful night. Thanks for having me on,
right.
Gatekeepers Daimyo. You're a better friend than King's Advice.
well,
I'll take you guys later.
He sits when he pees. Later, actually.
He's what?
He sits when he pees.
Gross.
Yeah, I got to run too, guys. But
All right.
I love it.
I think we're running. We're wrapping it up anyway.
Yeah.
I'll just do the wrap up now. Jim, as always, thank you, man. Let's keep these up. Rob, thanks for showing up, and Dave, thank you for showing
Anytime.
up as well. This was a great conversation.
Anybody watching, Great Pilgrim was nice enough to drop.
I saw that. That
channels
was
in the
nice.
Chat. Go check them out. Give them support. They got good content over there too. So
Always. Thanks,
I
guys.
know I've appreciated the conversation, man.
Yeah, it
Of
was
course.
super fun.
This was a fun time. All right, gentlemen. I'll see you next time.
See you guys.
Later.
See you.